Hello, I'm Chris Taylor. Welcome to the Christmas special of the Blue Shell Review. Joining me is Alex Sexy People McMullen.
Hello, you kids.
And Matt Chapman.
Hello, Merry Christmas.
And joining us once again for this special is Craig Clark.
Bar humbug.
For this Christmas special, we've each prepared a story that's got... it's going to add a personal touch to this festive episode. And when I say we've all made a story, I don't mean we've all sat there and written a story. I mean, it's a story from our childhood, shall we say, that relates to gaming.
So I've prepared three little stories basically that sort of come from my life. And I'll start right at the beginning. So my very first console this. So picture the scene, it's Christmas, I'm about 6 or 7 years old. It's dark outside, it's snowing, there's not a lot going on, I'm bored. My dad comes in from work, he's got a smile on his face and a box under his arm. Right? Leave it.
So he goes upstairs. And 20 minutes later, comes back down.
Look, no hands.
This box actually turns out to be a Commodore 64.
Ooh.
Okay. Now, I'd never seen a console before at this point.
That's not
We're in the 80s. So I've never seen a console, no idea what it is. So he hooks this thing up to the TV, which takes ages to do that in itself. And he pulls out a game which is called Mr. Do. Okay? Now, look it up. It's a very old game. It's a very Dig Dug Pac-Man style game. You're moving around the screen in that sort of way.
A lot of them were.
So this game is on a tape. All right? So he puts the tape in, and I'm all excited. It's something to do with this console. It's like, it's futuristic technology for me at this point.
And then you realise you've got an half-hour wait.
Oh no! If it was half hour, I'd be pleased, right?
Yeah.
So he puts his tape in. It literally takes about 55 minutes.
Oh, you didn't have the 90-minute tape that...
No.
You had to turn over.
It took about 55 minutes for this thing to finally load, to the point where excitement is bursting out of me, only to find out I'm not the first person allowed to play on this thing, because we have to go down in order, and I'm the second child. So the first person that gets to play it is my older brother, which he plays it for God knows how long before I even get a chance.
I mean, if we could get to that stage nowadays, where we could, I could sit my children in front of the TV and make them watch the most psychedelic colours for 50 minutes in the vain hope they get to play a game, I'd let them play.
Yeah. So jumping forward anyway, I'm until I'm about 11 years old, and I get the first console, in my opinion, that really made a difference to the way I think about gaming, and it was the Amiga 500 Plus, right? Plus, yeah.
I'll just say on 1200.
The Plus, by the way, all the Plus meant was it had a drive with it, like a floppy drive that was built in. That's what the Plus meant. So he gets this Amiga 500, and no word of a lie, a bin liner full of 3.5-inch floppy disks, each one with a different sort of game on, because they were just sort of copied games.
Yeah, you could do that back then.
Yeah, you got away with it back then.
Flick that little black switch over.
Yeah. So
and you can record
if you had a game that I liked, I had that game a week later.
Exactly. And you had to photocopy the book, because it'd go, what is page 12, 12 lines down, fifth word across, that is the code.
Yeah. You had to,
right, it's the...
And there were no internet back then to look it all up in, so you had to copy the book.
How did they ever get around it?
You just copied the book.
Photocopiers.
I had Amiga 500 for years, and I love this console. It was brilliant. It has some of the best games I've ever played have been on this console. Simon the Sorcerer, Monkey Island. These games are absolute classics, especially in my own life. So about 8 years later, something like that, as I've got older, so about sort of 19, I'm going off doing other things, I find out that my youngest brother, with his sort of merchant brain, has decided that this massive bag of old Amiga games he's going to sell to his friend. Not his to sell, but he's going to sell it to his friend. So I lose everything. Every game I've ever had on that thing, I lose because he's decided he's going to sell this bag of games.
For £2.
I have no idea how much it was. I mean, he better got a bloody bargain for it. I know that.
3 ice poles.
Yeah. Well, the age he was as well, that's probably what it was likely to be. So anyway, my final sort of story is that, and this one involves Matt, we're jumping right forward to the Nintendo 64 now, right? So I'm not going to go into too much detail as to why, but me and Matt, we had a massive falling out.
I don't remember this.
Of course you don't. When I say a massive falling out, I mean a massive falling out to the point where we were at fisticuffs at dawn, that sort of thing.
Really?
Yeah, so we didn't speak to each other, right?
It weren't over Dig Dug, was it?
No. Oddly enough, it was over a girl. As most...
Oh, we're going there. We're going there.
Oh, now Alex knows. So, but the falling out about the girl is not the story. We both owned an N64, and like I said, at the time, we weren't even speaking to each other. Wouldn't go around his house, nothing. You know, the friendship was pretty much over. Okay. And I just remember him turning up round at my front door, basically with a copy of Mario Kart 64, because at the time, and as I've mentioned in a previous episode, we have a challenge going on in this thing to sort of get first and second on every track. Okay, so he turns up at my house with a copy of the Mario Kart 64. I don't say a word to him. I open the door, look at him. He holds up this copy of Mario Kart and says, "Do you want to do the challenge?" And I went, "Yeah, all right." He sort of came in. We sat playing, doing the challenge like all night, trying to get this thing done without a word being said through this entire thing. And then when it was over, he's basically just got his copy of his game, got up and walked out again. It's the fact that it was Mario Kart 64 that pretty much saved our friendship at this point. And I probably wouldn't be friends with him now if it weren't for that game.
So thanks, Mario.
Thanks Mario Kart, thanks Nintendo.
Thank your dad for buying it, yeah.
Yeah.
You spoiled the rat.
And thank you, Debbie, for ruining it. You know who you are.
Guess the sound. Guess the sound.
So, are we all ready for Guess the Sound?
Yep.
Are we
Well,
ready
apparently
for,
I am, and none of the others are.
We're ready for sound
I'm
number one?
twitching at the anticipation.
Yes.
Halo.
Here we go.
Oh, it's just like a normal sound then.
Play it again.
I was expecting the theme tune thing that seems to be our recent...
No, I've gone back on sound this time.
Okay. Oh.
That is God of War.
No.
I see where you're getting that, actually. That's a very, very similar sound to when he collects like health on God of War. Yeah, see that.
Is it Dead Space?
Yes!
Hey!
There you go. Are we ready for sound number two?
Go on.
Red Dead Redemption.
Oh! I think that's a point each. I can't decide.
Oh, so that's one all then.
Yeah.
All three of us, one all.
I got a point. Right.
Yeah!
It's been a pleasure.
Okay. Sound number three.
Pikmins.
Am I along the right
You
lines?
are very much on the right line.
Ukulele?
Like
No.
Is it not like...
Animal Crossing.
I know that...
You'll
Oh,
kick
it's
yourself.
not the one with that dung beetle, is it?
No.
No, because it's those little...
Banjo-Kazooie.
yellow little-
No.
Those little round things.
Yes. That's exactly what they are.
Little
But what
round
game
things.
is it from?
Candy Crush.
I thought it was like a record.
Little round things.
Oh.
Narrowed that down to any game with a round thing.
Yeah. Dizzy.
Do you want
No,
it again?
hang on. No.
I'm going to play it again anyway.
No. I know what it is. I just can't remember the name because it's not very popular.
I don't even know what that
It
is.
is popular.
Is it?
Oh, it is popular.
It sounds like something played in a lift at a psychiatric ward.
I'll give you probably one last clue, right? The character has always been one of PlayStation's biggest mascots.
Crash Bandicoot?
No, Rayman.
Rayman.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, yeah. So number four.
Save the last human.
Resogun. Yeah!
I was just going to say that.
But you didn't.
No, 'cause
No, I
I was
did.
like,
So that's me 2,
2-2.
Craig 2, Alex 1.
Number 5.
Oh no,
Tetris.
no. It's Mario.
yeah, Mario, you hit the block.
Super Mario.
I'm gonna have to ask for
You
specific
hit the block
sound.
underneath when the
It's when you jump on the skeleton.
Oh no, it's not when you go down
Coopers.
It's not when you go down the pipe. It's when you.
No, it's when Mario spins.
Yes.
Okay, that ends with me with 4 points, Craig with 2, Alex with 1, which means I win. Yay!
Well done. Because it's Christmas, I want to do a couple of shout-outs. So, first of all, my boss, Neil.
#Neil.
Yeah, man. He listens to every podcast.
Cool.
So, hello to Neil Sanders. And also...
Merry Christmas, Neil.
Merry Christmas. And my best mate from across the pond, Jen Leibold, who always listens to this and spreads the word.
Really?
Yeah, so, yeah, she's the one from Denver that's been listening, and you two were like,
Oh, wow.
wow, who's the one from...
Merry Christmas, Jen from Denver.
Yeah, so, you remember Jen, don't you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Hi, Jen.
she's been listening to everyone, so shout out to you and your family. Anyway, right, so, my story. So, always remember getting Goldeneye for the N64.
I've actually got it in my pocket.
Have you? So, I remember,
For no particular reason. Just like character.
we unlocked a certain perk on it where you could turn off the radars. I don't know if you remember
Yeah,
this.
yeah, no radar, yeah.
And me and Matt went to Inglemells Market one year, and we trawled everywhere around there, and we picked up all the bits to be able to split it onto 4 TVs.
I remember that. Because we used to get the cardboard.
Yes, we used to get the cardboard, and one of us, we had to take it in turns with a little 6-inch black and white TV.
So right, just to explain this then, like to sort of
That was awesome.
this is at a time long before sort of online multiplayer gaming came into play.
Exactly.
So GoldenEye itself was a 4-player split screen, so your screen split into 4 different quarters.
We went to Inglemells Market and we bought all the cables, the coaxial, and everything. And we bought a 4-way splitter.
Yeah.
Which were not easy things to find.
It wasn't, and also, one of us had to have the Caravan TV, which was a 6-inch black and white.
Yeah. So 6-inch black and white that you're only seeing a quarter of.
And then we had 3 14-inch box TVs.
Yeah.
However...
Which was probably a fairly big telly for back then.
Yeah. However, 2 of the TVs had rubbish signal because you split the coax that many ways.
Yeah.
The further around the line it got, the worse for quality it got. So when you skipped around, we made sure that the little 6-inch black and white TV had the best quality.
Yeah.
So it was even. But yeah, we'd sit there and we'd cut out all the cardboard and we'd sit there for hours.
So yeah, what we'd do, we'd face 4 screens facing away from each other.
Yeah, so
and
the idea
Yeah,
being...
we all sat in one corner of the room.
Yeah,
we?
when all 4 of you sat around and played it on one TV, you could all see where your opponents were.
Yeah, exactly.
And like if they were sneaking up behind you. And stuff like
Exactly.
that. So we blanked out other people's portions of the screen.
Turned off the radars.
Yeah, so that you could sneak
And
around.
literally, that's when we first realised that sort of multiplayer game.
Yeah, it was a form of online multiplayer long before online multiplayer became a thing.
Exactly. And we spent hours doing that, and we couldn't wait to get it all started. We were so excited when we got all these cables.
We could have gone on Dragon's Den with those
We
little
should
cardboard
have, shouldn't
screens.
we? We should have. Here's one for a 6.
Blackout
Yeah.
screens.
Yeah.
And that was some of my fondest memories, because I was good on a game anyway, but it made me even better. But,
Yeah, I mean, you've been out of the 4 of us that played it at the time. You were probably the best of the 4. But yeah, I remember that very fondly.
Anyway, so that's my fondest and most revered gaming memory.
No, I remember walking in and it like someone pulled the guts out of a space shuttle.
Yeah.
Because there'd just be cables everywhere. Everywhere you look were just random screens, just like placed all around the place. It was like Master Computer. Okay, so little name gaming fact, I think.
Little known gaming facts. Little known gaming facts. Little known gaming facts.
Little known gaming facts.
You got to do a Christmas version.
Mistletoe.
Brilliant. Right. Okay. So, how do you think Sonic came about? How do you think they made
Well, he kind of spun into the
the
screen.
guy who created it? How do you think it came about? The idea.
Did he?
Find a really cold hedgehog.
I was just about to say that exact same thing.
What would you say if I said that he got the idea from Super Mario?
I'd say I didn't realise that Mario was already out by the time Sonic was created.
Yeah.
Of course course he
Mario
was.
first.
I suppose it was around it with Donkey Kong and all
Alright,
that,
so
weren't
the
it?
original...
I mean, Sonic probably, I'm completely guessing here, but Sonic wasn't created until probably sort of late 80s or something, was it?
Oh, no, yeah, about 90, something
Yeah.
like that on the... Was it a Master System?
The Master System, yeah.
Yeah, so it came out on the Master System, and yeah, so there was.
Obviously, the popular version being the Mega Drive
So
version.
you remember the NES? So this is when games couldn't be saved. Yeah, there was no save.
Oh, don't I bloody know it?
So on Super Mario,
So, was that, I mean, I know I had all these old consoles, but seriously, was that ever a thing?
What, not being able to save?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
course it was.
Just to get
all the
codes,
consoles
right,
back then,
that's
you
the-
couldn't save on it. It wasn't until memory cards came out that you could actually save games. You play Sonic the Hedgehog,
Yeah.
you could get right down to the last level, die, and that's it. You're done. You're screwed.
I didn't know that.
No, actually, no. I think there was it Sonic and Knuckles where there was a save file?
Probably, but by then you probably have memory card. Talking about the original Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic 2,
the original,
Super Mario Brothers,
exactly.
that sort of stuff. You couldn't save any of that.
So
That's why ABBA up, down, left,
so
right.
so if you remember on Super Mario, you
So we're just going to pause there while Matt has a cup of tea.
Matt's just pulled a pin of a grenade.
Look.
Yeah. So in Super Mario World,
Yeah.
Is it Super Mario World? The very
No,
first.
Super Mario Brothers.
Super Mario Brothers was the first one, wasn't it?
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Technically, Donkey Kong was the first one with Mario.
Yeah. All right. So we're talking about the one where it was like not just jumping.
The
on
NES,
barrels
the
and
NES,
stuff.
Super Mario
the
Brothers.
NES
The one-
version.
Yeah.
Don't make me throw my mug at you. Right, so people got fed up in Super Mario Brothers because they always had to go through the first level.
Yeah.
To get to the end and jump down, if you jumped at the top of the level, you could run
Yeah, you
across
could
and
sort of
go
run
in the
across the
pipes.
pipe
So
and get to find the other warp
so
pipes.
the idea was that was your save. You know, you'd be able to go down a particular one so to
Yeah.
relate to the level that you got to in your last game.
Yeah.
People got so fed up with that, right? And so
Was that really their solution of
was
being
a-
able to save? Is just give you extra warp
Oh, that
pipes
is
to
it.
go down to other
So-
worlds?
Did that not
I've got a
also
quote
mean
here.
that you could just skip straight from the first level to the last level if you knew?
No, because it only gave you so many pipes, so you had to sort of figure out a route. Because only certain levels, the only ones where you went down into the dungeon levels, were the only ones that gave you the option to jump over the
Yeah.
warp pipe.
So I've got a quote from Yuji Naka. He was the guy who invented
So,
Eugene Naka.
Yuji Naka. That's his name, or it's probably not pronounced like that.
I
But
bet you couldn't spell it.
I bet I could because it's written on this piece of paper. Right. So I've got his quote. Okay.
so Eugene Knackered.
Yep.
Naka.
So back then, games didn't allow you to save your progress. So when you wanted to play Super Mario Brothers, you always had to start from World 1-1. You could use the warp zones to skip many of the levels, but you always had to play through World 1-1. Doing so eventually became kind of tedious, so I always tried to get through the level as fast as I could, and that inspired the initial concept for Sonic the Hedgehog because of the speed running.
Oh, I see. No, I get what you're saying now. Yeah, so he sort of came up with the idea because of how
Because
long it
people-
took you to keep getting through that level.
People are always trying to speed run through that little bit, and that's where he got the concept of Sonic the Hedgehog being really quick, because that's why you could do Sonic the Hedgehog levels.
Yeah, but
really
why
quick.
a hedgehog?
Why a blue hedgehog?
Is it because they're renowned for being slow? So it's sort of turning that idea on its head.
But I thought that was really interesting.
Oh, right, okay. Interesting story for me.
Right.
A few years back now, about 5 years ago, I used to live with my best friend, and we had a dog by the name of Baylor.
Right.
And we used to play with Baylor. It was a Labrador cross with some other
No,
dogs.
not play with him.
Not like that. We didn't Red Rocket. It's fine.
There's a lipstick!
What we used to do with Baylor is, because we've been playing Skyrim so much, we used to shout Fuss Rodar and then make the massive fuss of the dog. And the dog
Fuss
loved it.
Rodar, for people that don't know, is basically the shout of the dragon in
Shout to the
Skyrim.
dragon from Skyrim. So we'd literally go Fuss Rodar and basically rub the hell out of this dog, and the dog. So we used to play with the dog by shouting Fuss Rodar at it.
Yep.
Which was great fun. The dog used to love it, and then it used to get, like dogs get playful and biter. Used to do it all the time, which was all well and good until we got a Kinect. At which point we connected Skyrim. Now my best mate is 6'4". It's quite a beefy. Well, he's not beefy. He's fat, but he's quite a large guy. And my dog is your average.
You two are next to each other must look hilarious.
Oh, it is.
Because you're like 3'2".
very much, yeah.
You're the only person I know that needs a leg up onto the curb.
It's not just that, it's the fact that he's the only person I know that can pick me up on his shoulders.
It's like Master Blaster.
And so we've connected the Kinect up, and my best mate stood there, at which point he's doing some of the commands, and he's trying it, moving around to make sure it works, at which point it says, voice recognition. He's like, oh, I wonder if it'll work. So he's like, duh, and it did a shout. So he stands there and shouts, Fuss Rodar. At which point the dog leaps off the sofa and mauls the hell out of him and attacks him on the floor. And all I can see on the computer, the TV screen in front of me, is the character twitching like hell because it's trying to pick up him, the dog, him shouting at the dog to stop attacking, me laughing, and everything's just gone to hell in Bree's home because that's where he was stood at the time. So yeah, that's my interesting story.
Well, hang on. Why was he trying to do the dragon shout whilst in Bree's home?
Because the best place to do it is you can watch all of the cutlery go and then stand there trying till you get a Kinect and go, Lydia, tidy up, and she never does. She never does.
Have you ever actually tried like doing the quests on that game?
We climbed the 5,000 steps to High Hrothgar, and that was tedious.
It was very tedious, yeah.
They're not heard of
On the upside,
lifts.
you only ever have to do it once.
You say that until you realise that, you didn't save it. You got to the top of it, rage quit, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, well, Craig has actually prepared a trivia quiz for us just for this Christmas special. I'll go.
Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Quiz. Brap, brap, quick quiz. Very the same. I'm going to do some generic game questions that should hopefully not be stylised to anyone in particular. And what I need you to do is when you're ready to answer the question, I want you to shout out your own name.
Oh, can we not do funny? No.
All right, funny noise. What funny noise do you want to do, Alex?
I don't know. Well, it'll be.
Right, no funny noise, Alex.
Do your own impression of a noise from a computer game.
Oh.
That works.
There you go. That's mine.
I was so hoping There You Go was part of it. There you go. Every time.
So that one's mine. What about you, Al?
Do you want me to give you a hand? I don't know.
I'm gonna.
I'll give you a
I've got
hand
mine.
as soon as you did your interesting fact, that's not quite interesting but slightly interesting. Why don't you do Sega?
Alright, I'll do Sega.
I'm gonna join Matt with a Mario one, and I'm gonna go.
Okay. I'm glad we did that.
Yeah.
Right, so
Get the important stuff out.
question 1. What band is the question? They sang songs such as All I Want for Christmas is to Kick Your Assistance. Were scheduled to play at the Peach Pit in Whispering Oaks Amusement Park.
Not a clue.
So the real band.
No.
No, they're a
Made
game
up
band.
Fictional game band.
Okay.
And they're a rock band.
So it's got to be from like Rock Band or Guitar Hero or
I'll
something,
give you a
isn't it?
clue. It's not from Rock Band or Guitar Hero or anything like that.
Oh. What other games had a rock band in it?
I bet there's
They weren't the one from Donkey Kong, were it?
No.
Was it from...
another
The-
clue.
So the game that they're from,
Yes.
what console was it from?
Xbox 360, I believe. And PC.
Oh, then I got no chance.
Do we all give up?
Yeah, you're gonna have to give up.
The game was Left 4 Dead. And
Oh.
the band were called the Midnight Riders.
Oh, I don't actually play that one.
Whispering Oaks
No, I've never played that.
Amusement Park was the actual clown level. So question 2. His original name was Yaskia, but that translates to Buttercup, and it was decided this was too feminine. Which famous sidekick am I talking about?
So he had.
Christopher. Sorry, Christopher.
Is it from The Witcher and is it Dandelion?
It is.
Yes!
Lord Poet, Professor Spy and Gentleman from the Witcher series.
Well done.
How did you get that?
Well, that's what Buttercup, Dandelion, it's...
Hey!
Which game developer was originally asked to make a Game of Thrones game, but they turned it down due to them developing their third major instalment of their series? Christopher.
Is it Naughty Dog?
No.
Bethesda.
Sorry.
Sega. Bethesda.
Alex McMullen.
Bethesda.
You want to say a name of
Bethesda,
a
yeah.
developer?
He's never known how to actually say Bethesda.
Yeah, it is correct. It's Bethesda. In Castlevania, Lord of Shadow's Mirror of Fate, a famous game character took a job in Dracula's castle. Who was it?
Not normally from the Castlevania series.
Definitely not.
Is it one that is going to likely be similar to Castlevania, or
Yeah,
is it
it's
one
not like
that's
Princess
complete?
Peach or anything.
Oh, do you know how close you actually are?
Woo! Is it Luigi?
It is. Luigi.
What's going on here?
It is Luigi. Luigi, basically
Are you
skeleton.
reading this paper?
Yeah.
Skeleton
Dandelion.
I
I mean,
know,
come
tell
on.
me about it. This is how I denominated
Yeah.
to my answer.
Okay, question number 5. Are you ready?
Go on.
Yeah.
Am I going to
What?
get any of these?
Right, you should do. What game did Gordon Brittus lend his voice to in 1993?
Simon the Sorcerer.
It was
I
Simon
knew
the
that as
Sorcerer.
well.
His real name was Chris Barra. Well done. Did you?
So
I
that's
knew that one.
You did know
yeah,
that one.
that's
Yeah.
2-1-1.
Okay. Number 6. Which famous captain gave their voice to Uriel Septim VII in Elder Scrolls Oblivion? Matthew.
Picard.
Do you know his real name?
The actor. It's Baldy, isn't it?
His name is-
Patrick Stewart.
Yes, it's
Ah.
Patrick Stewart. Well done.
I knew
I'll
that
give
as
you
well. That's
It
Matt
is-
2 in a row now.
It's not Sir Baldy.
That's from the 5 minutes of Skyrim that I've played. And he's like one of the first people that you meet, isn't he?
No, in Oblivion. Yeah.
Matt seems to be getting
Oh,
good at
Oblivion.
the voice connected ones.
Okay, number 7. What game has a lab console that says, "Congratulation, you have completed a great game and proved the justice of our culture. Now go and rest our heroes."
Let me do that. Woo!
Taylor, Lester.
Is it something like Day of the Tentacle?
No. Matthew.
Is it a point and click adventure?
No.
Lab computer.
Again, give us a console.
It came out on most major consoles at the time, which would be PS3 or Xbox 360. Do you all give up?
Arguable.
Taylor.
Alex McMullen, Lester.
It's not Spider-Man, is it?
No, it's not Spider-Man.
He's just saying stuff now.
Yeah,
Go on then. What is it?
it was Ghostbusters, the video game.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Basically,
We all
the
hated that film.
reference is to the end game text from the original Ghostbusters video game that they put in the game as an Easter egg. The famous gamer, Billy Mitchell, was a record holder in this game before he had his title stripped from him and banned from submitting high scores. What game did he have his title in?
Woo!
Taylor, Lester.
Is it Call of Duty?
No.
Woo!
Taylor, Lester.
Is it FIFA?
No.
Woo! Donkey Kong.
It was Donkey
Oh,
Kong.
damn it! I was just about to say it.
Okay, well that was Craig's trivia quiz, which I won against. That's 2 wins so far. I won guess the sound and I won the trivia quiz.
Oh, it's Christmas, so it's a present.
Yeah.
The first little. Can we even call them stories? Because mine are so short.
Stories?
Well,
You can call it a story if you like.
What
Nobody
can we
knows
call
what it is.
A little anecdote.
little
I don't
short.
know, right? But
Little short.
but basically, here's a little
Like Craig.
memory. A little memory. These are all from my younger days of gaming.
Well,
They're
that's the whole idea behind the stories, mate. We've all done.
But what I'm saying is, they're not. What I'm saying is, they're not big. Idiot.
My, how the tables have turned. It must be Christmas.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, you monk.
That was a fist bump to you lot as well.
So, the first little memory of mine is that I've mentioned before, I think it was on the podcast, how I used to get really into the Monkey Island series. So
Yeah.
I was probably about, I guess, 11 or 12 years old or something like that, right? And I used to get, and when I say into these games, what I used to get, you know how people will tell you they get really pulled into a book, like they sort of go, oh, it was a page turner, I was right there, I was right with that person or whatever. I've really got that from a book.
That's the never-ending story.
But I used to get that. I used to get this vivid sort of this sense of I was in this place having this adventure with a game like Monkey Island, right? And I went so far as to I don't know how well you lot remember the games, but you should remember that the names of the islands that you went to, and the first game you went to an island called Melee Island, which you spent quite a lot of time, and then right near the end of the game you went to actual Monkey Island itself. Yep. And then in the second game you visited Booty Island, Scab Island, and Fat Island. Fat Island being PHATT. Yep. Right? And I got so immersed in this, I actually sat there and created something which you'd probably refer to as now as the extended Monkey Island universe, right? So I sat in my little room and I got A4 sheets of paper and I used to draw little maps of islands that I'd made up that were like, in my head, they were part of the Monkey Island sort of world, you know?
Wow, that is so sad.
Yeah, but I actually got so into it that, unfortunately, to make it a bit more entertaining, I wish I could remember any of the names of the islands that I could.
That would have been great, wouldn't it?
If I could find them.
Wouldn't that have been brilliant?
Yeah, but unfortunately, it was an half-baked story, so I can't remember any of the names, but I did it. You sit there, you used to make up little locations that were on these islands, or that's where the post office is, and there's a little path that goes around the side of the mountain that goes to this or whatever. I don't know why I did it. So there's my first little story for you.
Well done.
And my second one is just something else amusing that I used to do on another old game. Does everybody remember Cannon Fodder?
Who doesn't? We mention it every episode.
Yeah, good. Does Craig remember Cannon Fodder?
The name rings a bell, but I can't actually picture the game.
It was a sort of game where you controlled these little soldiers and you used to play it with the mouse. You used to have it on the Amiga, but it was on the PC.
Good old Jules.
Yeah, well, it was sort of left click moved your character, right click fired.
And
then if you held
both
down
together, it flobbed a grenade.
Or
flobbed a grenade.
Flopped a grenade.
Or there was a missile.
Yeah, you could have rockets.
Driving a tank or a jeep.
Yeah.
You're just flobbing these Strories around tonight, aren't you?
Yeah. But anyway, right, I used to have a bit of OCD when it came to this game, because what I used to do, I used to create this little rule for myself, which was in the exact same way as me and Chris invented the Mario Kart challenge.
I think I know what you're saying, because I used to do the same.
Where you sort of say you have to finish first and second on every track, and then if we don't finish
get
first
as far
and second,
as you can with the original four soldiers.
Jules, Jops, Stu are the three sort of big ones.
Yeah, so what it is, for anyone that's not played the game, you used to get a set amount of soldiers that you could take into a mission.
Which they all had their own names.
And they had their own names. They used to go through, if your first three soldiers died, they got replaced with another three soldiers that had different names. You used to go through every imaginable name.
You'd only get, but you start off with so many soldiers. Until
you work your way through your recruits.
Yeah.
And they run out. If you pass that mission,
you get new recruits.
But what I used to do was, like I say, the reason I compare it to the Mario Kart challenge, where we used to say, right, we have to finish first and second every race. And if it ever gets to the point where we do a race where we don't finish first and second, that's it. The game's over, you have to reset the console and you have to start all over again. I used to do the same thing with Cannon Fodder. You sit there for hours, used to be obsessed with making sure that Jules, Jops and Stu were the three guys that you originally started with, that they survived every mission. And I would go so far as, even if I played up to like the 9th or 10th mission and those three guys croaked it, I would go back and start the whole game again. I mean, why I used to do that?
Well, there's a sort of a cheaty way later on, because sometimes you get to the point where you got like 6 or 7 different guys in one screen, so you just leave those 3 behind.
Yeah.
In like a safe area and just take the other 4.
What would have been much easier if you had the game now is to just create like a separate save, wouldn't it? And then if anything went wrong, you just load up your save again.
But in your head, you know you.
Yeah, I'm going to say there wouldn't be the same,
would it? I know what
you
you mean, because I kind of do the same kind of thing with XCOM.
Yeah.
With the starting characters, try and play the whole game with all of them. But I don't sit there and just end the game, I rage quit and don't play it. That's how I do it. It's literally, I don't think I've played XCOM in over a year on the basis of I got quite far, my original characters died, and that was
And he's now
playing it.
He's now no longer got a controller to play.
Yeah. So that was my little thing that we can call the Cannon Fodder Challenge. That I thought I invented it, but it sounds to me like probably...
No, we all did that, mate.
Tell us a story we don't know.
Okay, right. So it is a little... It's just a fond memory of mine, right? But I suppose it is quite amusing because if you see how I don't know, obsessed that me and my friend got with this game. There's an old friend of mine. I used to go and stay around his house every weekend. And he had the luxury of getting a Super Nintendo.
It was his gym teacher.
He had a big smile on his face and a box under his arm.
He used to just coax me in with the Super Nintendo. Just come round and play on Mario. So anyway, he used to go stay around his friend's house, but he used to have a Super Nintendo. Now I never used to have anything like that, right? So it used to be a real event of mine to like basically go round his house and play on a Super Nintendo. And one day
it was last week.
It was like such a big deal that he got Donkey Kong Country, right? And it was such a big deal in gaming that at the time because it had these amazing graphics that were better than anything else that was around at the time. And me and him sat there. We sat up all night, right?
Kissing.
And you should have seen us. You should have seen us. It really was like these wide-eyed kids that like just couldn't believe the adventure that they were having on this game, right? Like we sat up for hours, and we kept pausing it.
For a rest.
Sorry, I am so sorry, Matt. I'm so sorry.
He's doing his angry face, but trying not to be
I
angry.
am so sorry.
Sometimes I could be asked to tell.
Hang on, whenever I'm telling a story, you can interrupt me 50 million times. Happens to you.
I don't know how you do it.
It was just so well timed. We stayed up all night kissing.
I'm sorry. I do apologise.
Sorry, yeah.
Give me a poppet. I need one of them.
Yeah, it won't.
Anyway, yeah. So what I remember is just this sense of this sort of wonderment of feeling like we'd had this big adventure, right? Because if anyone has played through the original Donkey Kong Country, right, you start off in the jungle. And then you go through like a desert. You're going through these old pyramids and stuff.
Mines.
And you go through mines. And you go through and it's like every conceivable landscape, right? So you really are having this big adventure. But the thing is, what I remember is we played it for ages, and we were like, how are we not at the end yet, right? And we sort of paused it, and then we went off down the shops, and then we came back with a load of munchies and everything, and then we sat up, and then we played it for a couple of hours more. And by this point, it was like early hours of the morning. We got like matchsticks holding our eyes open, and we were like, "How long is this game? How long does it go on for?" Oh, we've been everything. We've been in like the swamps and the jungle and the desert and all this kind of stuff, and it just went on and on and on. And we finally completed it. And honestly, it felt like the most amazing long day and this long adventure. But what's weird is now, if you go back and put that game on, you probably blast through it in about an hour and a half, right? But a game now. You put on something like Red Dead Redemption 2 or something like that, and you are genuine. You're going to be there. You're going to be there for weeks.
Well, you were never going to play that game start to finish in one go, are you?
No.
It's as simple as
challenge.
to get through any of them sort of open world big games in one sitting.
One sitting without dying from exhaustion.
Yeah.
But that's a little glimpse into sort of how much gaming's changed, and also how much it can draw you in as a kid. And how into it you can get, and how much you can feel like you're.
It also gives us a very scary insight to you.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the Christmas special of the Blue Shell review. That I will say Merry Christmas to everybody, and we'll see you in the new year.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
What he said.
Yep.